Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, March 6, 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The members of the ruling coalition held a meeting today just a few hours before the special plenary session meant to establish the vetting commissions. Prime Minister Rama was accompanied by the chairman of the Socialist Parliamentary Group. SP MP Fatmir Jafai and the Socialist Movement for Integration chairman were accompanied by the Minister of Justice to the meeting. An Aura News journalist learned that the discussion focused on establishing the vetting commission, which will then select the members of the vetting institution. The commission will be made of 6 members, 3 from the opposition and 3 from the majority. It is learned that the conversation focused on deciding on the 3 members to propose for the majority, with consideration being given to the idea of 1 member being from the Socialist Party, 1 from the Socialist Movement for Integration, and 1 from the Party for Justice, Integrity, and Unity. Earlier today, the Assembly Speaker, Ilir Mehta, sent a letter to the chairman of the parliamentary groups, requesting they submit their member proposals by 4 p.m. today. The ad hoc committee will verify the candidates who will enforce the laws of the vetting process. The 4 p.m. deadline for their submission comes 2 hours before the special plenary session, which is expected to launch procedures for establishing the vetting commission. The first bill predicted to be passed in the plenary session, which is due to begin, will establish the commission. This bill can be passed because it requires only 71 votes. However, there is an impasse for the composition of the commission because 3 members must be from the opposition, and the Democratic Party continues its protest. The DP has been saying they will boycott the plenary session, demanding the establishment of a provisional government in what they say is the only way to guarantee free and fair elections. It remains to be seen how this process will be unblocked. Just before today's extraordinary plenary session, the Party for Justice, Integrity, and Unity was the only party to have proposed candidate members for the ad hoc commission, which will establish the vetting bodies. The opposition has made its stance clear that it will boycott the plenary session. However, the majority still hopes that the opposition will change its mind and propose its MPs' names for the commission. The opposition made it clear that they will not attend the plenary session and will not propose any member for the commission. The chances of establishing the vetting bodies are low at this point because the opposition's presence is needed. The expected agenda for the plenary session includes the bills to be voted on, and the majority may have to wait for the next plenary session to see if the opposition will change its mind and participate. The Minister of Defense signed the civil society's petition for vetting today. After signing the petition, she declared that by signing the petition, we show political will that we can make things happen through this process. Better than anyone else, I know what vetting means. To become a member of the Ministry of Defense structures, one undergoes this process called vetting. This is a familiar process to us, though less familiar to the public. Vetting is a necessity to clean not only the justice system of the corrupt, but also to clean the Albanian society of any evil and to realize the judicial reform, which will open the negotiations for EU membership, declared the Minister of Defense, who considers today's special plenary session to be the beginning of a path with no return, the path to vetting and negotiations. The EU foreign ministers will meet in Brussels, where the EU High Representative for Foreign Policy, Ms. Federica Mogherini, will report on her tour of the Balkans. Today, Ms. Mogherini said that the situation in the Western Balkans is tense, with challenges on internal, regional, and global fronts, stressing that strong and convincing support from the European Union is necessary for the integration of the region. Before the session of the EU Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense, Mogherini said that she will inform the diplomacy chiefs about her visit of the Western Balkans, and after that, the EU leaders will discuss how the situation is exposed to challenges to an internal plan as well as regional and globally. Mogherini stressed that the region has the ability and internal strength to overcome the challenges and that she expects the ministers and the EU leaders to give a clear and strong determination towards the Western Balkans today to send convincing perspectives for their European integration. The EU diplomats say that there are tensions in almost every country of the Balkans, especially in Macedonia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it is necessary for the EU to prove that it will not forget the region, being aware of the risks the situation in the region presents to the whole of Europe. Last week, Mogherini visited Montenegro, Macedonia, Serbia, Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the increase of tension in the Western Balkans will be a subject at the meeting of the EU leaders, which will be held on the 9th and 10th of March in Brussels. The Minister of Social Welfare and Youth, Blendi Klosi, announced today that all formerly persecuted will receive the compensation installment within the government's term. The minister declared that the 8th tranche will be distributed by June with an allocated fund for the formerly persecuted at 7.8 billion lek. Minister Klosi spoke in two parliamentary commissions, the Commission of Social Issues and the Economic Commission, where he declared that the work for distributing the 7th tranche to the formerly persecuted will be accelerated in order to complete the 8th before June. The bills concerning the formerly persecuted who have not yet received compensations from the 2007 law because they have not submitted their files was also discussed at the commissions. The Minister of Social Welfare hopes to include the 320 people who have not yet submitted their files. The government is distributing the 7.8 billion lek between 2014 and the end of 2017 to compensate all those formerly persecuted. The National Medical Emergency Service will be operating 24 hours a day starting April 3rd. Citizens can call 127 and 112 for free with a guarantee of security and safety, and a patient register will be created. During the inauguration of the center, Prime Minister Rama assured citizens they will receive aid in real time. The Prime Minister announced the center will begin operating on April 3rd, saying, "The National Emergency Service will begin operating full-time throughout the territory on April 3rd. The modern program will be tested between now and April 3rd. The service will guarantee real-time responses for medical emergency calls and the closest ambulance to the citizen's location. It guarantees better coordination of all ambulances, the real-time monitoring of all ambulances with timely reporting at the end of a mission," the Prime Minister said, adding that the number of ambulances will also increase. The number of ambulances at the service of the citizens throughout the week has doubled. As of today, there is one ambulance for every 21,000 inhabitants, compared to the one for every 41,000 we've had up until now. According to the Prime Minister, the new emergency service will guarantee security and speed no one could think of until 3 years ago. The Minister of Health said that the service is able to handle roughly 3,500 phone calls a day and that the system guarantees security and efficiency. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.